Ava stood in my living room with a leather folder tucked under her arm, her heels clicking against the hardwood floors I had refinished myself 10 years ago. She didn't hug me. She didn't ask how I was feeling. She just placed the folder on the coffee table and slid it toward me with 2 fingers, like she was serving a subpoena. "Mom, I need you to sign this," she said, her voice flat and businesslike. I opened the folder. Inside were legal documents, thick, official-looking papers with tiny print that made my eyes hurt. At the top, in bold letters, it read, "Transfer of property deed." My hand started shaking. "What is this, Ava?" "It's the deed to this house. I need you to sign it over to me." I looked up at her, searching for some hint of a joke, some warmth in her eyes. There was nothing. Just cold determination. "Why would I do that?" She sighed, like I was being difficult. "Because I've already spoken to a lawyer. This isn't a request, Mom. It's what needs to happen." I stared at the signature line, my vision blurring. "Why are you doing this to me?" I sat there in silence after Ava left, memories flooding back like a broken dam. I remembered when she was 7, standing in the kitchen of our tiny apartment, asking why Daddy didn't live with us anymore. I remembered telling her everything would be okay, even though I had no idea how I'd pay the rent. After the divorce, I worked 2 jobs, waitressing during the day and cleaning offices at night. I wanted Ava to have everything I never had. So I enrolled her in private school, bought her the books she needed, paid for piano lessons she begged for but quit after 3 months. I had dreams once. I wanted to open a bakery. I had recipes, a business plan, even a name picked out, Caroline's Corner. But when the electric bill came due and Ava needed braces, I put that dream in a drawer and never looked at it again. My phone rang, snapping me back to the present. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. "Caroline, Ava's car is parked outside your house again. Is everything all right?" I looked out the window. She was right. Ava was sitting in her car, watching my house. I thought about the favor that never ended. 5 years ago, Ava showed up at my door with her son, Tyler, who was just 3 at the time. She said she needed help getting back on her feet, just 1 year, she promised. Her marriage was falling apart, and she needed time to find a job and an apartment. 1 year turned into 5. I raised Tyler while Ava came and went as she pleased. I made his breakfast, drove him to school, helped with homework, tucked him in at night. I became his mother in every way that mattered, while Ava lived her life like a single woman with no responsibilities. And the money. Last year alone, I paid off $40,000 of her credit card debt. She had maxed out 3 cards on designer clothes, expensive dinners, and weekend trips with friends. When the collection call started, she came to me crying, saying she'd lose everything. I took out a loan against my house to save her. She promised to pay me back. She never did. My phone buzzed. A text from Ava, "You've had your time. It's my turn now." I called my old friend Marcus, who happened to be a lawyer. We met at a quiet coffee shop downtown, and I showed him the documents Ava had given me. He read through them slowly, his expression growing darker with each page. "Caroline, these papers are nasty. If you sign this, you're not just transferring the house. You're putting it into a trust where she has complete control. You'd have no say in what happens to it. Can I reverse it if I change my mind?" He shook his head. "That's the clever part. Once you sign, it's nearly impossible to undo without her consent. And based on this language, she's not required to give it." I felt sick. So she's been planning this. 4 months, I'd say. This kind of paperwork doesn't happen overnight. Marcus leaned back, studying my face. "But here's the thing, she doesn't know you already made a move of your own, does she?" I met his eyes. "No. She doesn't." 6 months ago, after Ava asked me for another $10,000 for emergency expenses, something inside me shifted. I couldn't explain it then, but I felt uneasy. So I went to Marcus quietly and asked him about protecting my assets. He suggested I create a living trust and transfer the house into it. The trust named me as the sole trustee, which meant no one could touch it without my explicit permission, not even with a power of attorney. I did it. The house was no longer in my name on paper. It belonged to the Caroline Winters Living Trust, and I was the only person who could make decisions about it. The deed Ava wanted me to sign? It was worthless. She was asking me to transfer something I no longer technically owned. Marcus smiled when I told him. So what are you going to do? I thought for a moment, then said, I'm going to play along. Play along? I'm going to pretend I'll sign. Let her think she's won. Marcus and I prepared a fake set of documents. They looked official, complete with legal jargon, notary stamps, and signature lines. To anyone who didn't know better, they'd seem legitimate. But they were completely meaningless. 2 days later, Ava came over. She was almost cheerful, which was unusual for her. She had a bottle of wine in one hand and a pen in the other. I thought we could make this nice, she said, pouring herself a glass without asking if I wanted any. It's a big moment, you know? You're finally doing something generous for me. Generous. The word made my stomach turn. I placed the fake documents on the table. I just need you to sign first, acknowledging that you're taking responsibility for the property. She didn't even hesitate. She grabbed the pen and scrawled her name across the bottom of the page, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. Your turn, Mom. I picked up the pen and paused. Ava, what are you planning to do with the house? Her smile faltered. Just for a second. Then she recovered. I'm going to live in it, obviously. I stared at her. Just you? She looked away. I already have a buyer lined up. My heart sank. You're selling it? It's a good offer, Mom. You'll be fine. You can rent a small apartment somewhere. I set the pen down. I need a moment alone. I took the papers and walked into my bedroom, leaving her standing there with her glass of wine. I stood in my bedroom, clutching the fake documents, trying to steady my breathing. She wasn't just taking my house. She was selling it out from under me, erasing decades of memories without a second thought. This was the house where I brought her home from the hospital. Where she took her first steps. Where I stayed up all night when she had the flu, holding her hair back while she got sick. And she was going to sell it to a stranger. I folded the papers and put them in my dresser drawer. When I came back out, Ava was on her phone, texting someone. I'm not signing today, I said quietly. She looked up, annoyed. What? Why not? I need more time to think. Her face hardened. There's nothing to think about, Mom. We already agreed. I never agreed to anything. She stood up, her voice rising. You're being selfish. After everything I've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I repeated, my voice shaking. Ava, I raised your son for 5 years. I paid off $40,000 of your debt. I gave you everything. And now it's my turn, she snapped. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Within a week, things got worse. Ava started calling family members, telling them I was becoming senile and hoarding money. She painted herself as the concerned daughter trying to help her unstable mother. My sister called me, her voice gentle but worried. Caroline, Ava told me you've been forgetting things. Are you safe living alone? I'm fine, I said, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. Then Ava's lawyer sent me an email. The subject line read, breach of verbal agreement. The email claimed I had verbally promised to transfer the house and was now refusing to honor that agreement. It threatened legal action if I didn't comply within 14 days. I forwarded it to Marcus. He called me immediately. This is intimidation, Caroline. She's trying to scare you into signing. Is it working? I asked, my voice trembling. Not if you don't let it. The worst part came when Ava turned Tyler against me. He stopped coming over for our usual Sunday dinners. When I called, he didn't answer. Finally, I drove to Ava's apartment and knocked on the door. Tyler opened it. He looked uncomfortable, avoiding my eyes. "Hi, sweetheart," I said. "I missed you at dinner." "I can't come anymore," he mumbled. "Why not?" "Mom said you lied to me my whole life. She said you don't really love me." My heart shattered. "Tyler, that's not true. I love you more than anything." He shrugged. "She said you're just using me to hurt her." Before I could respond, Ava appeared behind him. "Tyler, go to your room." He obeyed without looking back. Ava crossed her arms. "You need to stop showing up here." "I need to stop?" "Ava, you're poisoning him against me. I'm protecting him from your manipulation." I stared at her, this stranger wearing my daughter's face. Then I turned and left. Later that night, I went into Tyler's old room at my house. On the desk, I found a letter. It was addressed to Ava, but he'd never sent it. I sat on Tyler's bed and read his letter, tears streaming down my face. "Dear Mom, I'm scared. You said if Grandma doesn't give you the house, we'll be homeless. You said we'll have to live in the car. I don't want to live in the car. I don't want Grandma to be mad at us. I don't understand why she's being so mean. You said she doesn't love me anymore. That makes me sad because I love her. Please don't make me choose. Love, Tyler." She was using him. Weaponizing his fear to pressure me into giving up everything. I called Ava immediately. "How dare you tell Tyler we'll be homeless?" "We will be if you don't do the right thing," she said coldly. "The right thing?" "You have a job, Ava. You have an apartment. And you have a whole house you're not even using properly. This is my home. Not for much longer." She hung up. I sat there, holding Tyler's letter, feeling more alone than I had in years. But something inside me hardened. Ava had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. I hired a financial investigator named Vincent. I gave him Ava's information and asked him to look into her recent activity. A week later, he called me with his findings. "Mrs. Winters, your daughter has been very busy. In the past 6 months, she's withdrawn $75,000 from various accounts, opened a new account under her name, and made a $30,000 down payment on a luxury condo downtown." "A condo?" "Yes. And here's the interesting part, the account she opened is under both her name and your grandson's name." "Tyler's name?" "Correct. She's likely planning to use his access to the account if anything happens to her own finances." I felt sick. She was using Tyler as a shield, a backup plan. "There's more," Vincent continued. "She's been making regular payments on a new car, taking vacations to Miami and Los Angeles, and spending heavily at high-end restaurants. Meanwhile, she'd been telling everyone she was struggling financially." "Thank you, Vincent. One more thing, Mrs. Winters. Whatever you're planning, do it soon. She's escalating." I decided it was time to call her bluff. I invited the whole family over, my sister, my brother, Ava, and even Tyler. I said it was important. They gathered in my living room, confused but curious. Ava sat with her arms crossed, looking annoyed. I pulled out the fake documents she had signed and held them up. "Ava asked me to sign over my house," I said calmly. "She told me it was the right thing to do." My sister gasped. "Caroline, you didn't." "I considered it," I continued. "But then I realized something. This house isn't just property. It's my life. And I'm not giving it away." Then I tore the papers in half. The room went silent. Ava's face turned red. "What are you doing?" "I'm done playing your game." She stood up, trembling with rage. "You can't do this." "I just did." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. My sister approached me quietly. Caroline, Ava's been asking me to support her in a lawsuit against you. I told her no. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my mind, every sacrifice, every time I'd said yes when I should have said no. Finally, I made an appointment with a therapist named Dr. Helena. I sat in her office, staring at the floor. I think I'm a bad mother. Why do you think that? Because my daughter hates me. Because she thinks she's entitled to everything I have. Did you teach her to think that way? I looked up. I gave her everything she asked for. I never said no. Then you didn't teach her entitlement. You enabled it. There's a difference. Is it too late to fix it? Dr. Helena leaned forward. There's still time to draw the line. But you have to be willing to hold it, even if it's painful. I nodded, feeling something shift inside me. I'm ready. The next day, I went to the bank and closed every account that Ava had access to. I removed her as my emergency contact, changed my medical directives, and updated my will to remove her as beneficiary. When I got home, I found a letter from the attorney who'd handled my living trust. Ava had somehow gotten herself added as my power of attorney 6 months ago, right around the time I'd started pulling away. I immediately revoked it. That evening, I received a photo from Ava. It showed her standing in front of my house with a locksmith beside her. The caption read, "Problem solved." I grabbed my keys and drove home as fast as I could. I arrived just as the locksmith was drilling into my front door. Ava stood behind him, arms crossed, looking smug. "Stop!" I yelled, running up the walkway. The locksmith paused. "Ma'am, I was hired to change these locks." "By whom?" "By her." He pointed at Ava. "This is my house. She has no authority to do this." Ava stepped forward. "Actually, I do. I'm your daughter, and I'm acting in your best interest. I'm competent and capable. Get off my property." The locksmith looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. "Look, I'm not getting involved in family drama. I'm leaving." He packed up his tools and drove away. Ava glared at me. "You're making a huge mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting you." She left, but I knew this wasn't over. I called a locksmith I trusted and had every lock changed that night. Then I posted a legal trespassing notice on my front door. The next morning, a police officer knocked. Ava had filed a report claiming I was a victim of elder abuse, by myself. Officer Bryant stood on my porch, looking uncomfortable. "Ma'am, we received a complaint that you're being financially exploited." "By whom?" "Your daughter. She claims you're not mentally fit to manage your affairs." I invited him inside and calmly explained the entire situation. I showed him the living trust documents, the fake deed Ava had signed, and the financial investigator's report showing her luxury spending. I also gave him Marcus's card. Officer Bryant took notes, then looked at me. "Ma'am, I don't see any evidence of abuse here. But I do see evidence of a family dispute. You might want to prepare for legal action." "I already am." He nodded and left. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived. Ava was suing me for financial exploitation, claiming I had manipulated her into caring for me and then refused to compensate her. I sat in Marcus's office, terrified. Can she win? She can try. Her strategy will be to paint you as mentally unfit. She'll probably use medical records, claim you're confused or paranoid. I'm neither of those things. I know. But she'll twist the narrative. What do I do? Marcus leaned back. We flip the script. We bring in people she's burned, her ex-husband, former friends, anyone who's seen this pattern before. You think people will testify? Let me make some calls. A week later, Marcus called me back. I found 3 people willing to testify. One of them is her ex-fiancé. Apparently, Ava tried to convince his parents to sign over their property too. She's done this before? More than once. One of the witnesses told Marcus, "She's done this to every person who's ever loved her." The court date arrived. I wore my best dress and sat beside Marcus, trying to stay calm. Ava walked in looking polished and confident, flanked by her lawyer. The judge called the court to order, and Ava's lawyer began. He painted a picture of a devoted daughter caring for an aging, unstable mother who had become paranoid and refused help. Then Ava took the stand. She cried as she described how worried she was about me, how I'd become forgetful and irrational. She claimed I'd promised her the house years ago and was now backing out due to confusion. "I just want to protect my mother," she said, dabbing her eyes. It was a performance worthy of an award. Then Marcus stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to call Tyler Winters to the stand." Ava's face went pale. "What? No. He's a child." The judge allowed it. Tyler walked to the stand, looking small and scared. Ava smiled at me like she'd already won. Marcus approached Tyler gently. "Tyler, do you love your grandmother?" "Yes." "Has she ever hurt you or treated you badly?" "No. She's always been nice to me." "Did your mother tell you your grandmother doesn't love you anymore?" Tyler hesitated, glancing at Ava. Then he nodded. "Yes." "Did your mother tell you that if your grandmother doesn't give her the house, you'll be homeless?" "Yes." The courtroom went silent. "Tyler, do you believe that's true?" "I don't know. Mom said we'd have to live in the car." Marcus nodded. "Thank you, Tyler." No further questions. Ava's lawyer tried to redirect, but the damage was done. Tyler had confirmed what we all suspected: Ava was manipulating him. The judge called a recess and asked for Ava's financial records to be submitted by the next hearing. When court reconvened, the judge reviewed Ava's finances. His expression grew stern as he flipped through pages showing designer purchases, luxury vacations, and the down payment on her condo. "Ms. Winters," the judge said, "you claimed financial hardship in your filings. Can you explain these expenses?" Ava stammered. "Those were necessary expenses." "A $5,000 handbag is necessary?" She had no answer. Then Marcus stood. "Your Honor, I have a surprise witness." Ava's head snapped up. Marcus called Nathan, Ava's ex-fiancé. He took the stand and described how Ava had tried to convince his elderly parents to sign over their property, claiming she'd care for them. When they refused, she broke off the engagement. "This is a pattern," Nathan said. "She finds vulnerable people and exploits them." The courtroom buzzed with whispers. The judge banged his gavel. "I'll issue my ruling tomorrow." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Tyler's face on the stand, about Ava's lies unraveling in front of everyone. The next morning, I arrived at court early. Marcus met me outside. "I have one more piece of evidence," he said. "What?" "Security footage from your home. I got it from your neighbor's camera." He showed me the video on his phone. It was Ava, standing in front of a mirror in my living room, rehearsing her tearful testimony. She practiced crying, adjusted her expression, and even timed her pauses. It was all fake. "We're showing this to the judge," Marcus said. In court, the judge watched the footage in silence. Then he turned to Ava. "Ms. Winters, would you like to amend your testimony?" She said nothing. The judge delivered his ruling. "After reviewing the evidence, I find no merit in Ms. Winters' claim of financial exploitation. In fact, the evidence suggests Ms. Winters engaged in manipulative behavior toward her mother. The deed remains with Mrs. Caroline Winters. Additionally, I'm granting a restraining order preventing Ms. Winters from contacting her mother. Finally, I'm freezing the account under Tyler's name pending a fraud investigation." Ava's face went white. Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge silenced him. "This court is adjourned." I walked out of the courtroom, feeling lighter than I had in years. Then I heard a small voice behind me. "Grandma?" I turned. Tyler stood there, his eyes red from crying. "Can I stay with you?" he asked. I knelt down and hugged him. "Yes, sweetheart. Always." Tyler moved in with me the following week. Ava didn't fight it, she was too busy dealing with the legal consequences of her actions. The fraud investigation into the account she'd opened in Tyler's name was ongoing, and her condo purchase was being scrutinized. I turned the spare bedroom into Tyler's room. We painted it blue, his favorite color, and I let him pick out new bedding and posters. For the first time in years, the house felt like a real home again. One evening, Tyler asked, "Grandma, why did Mom do all those things?" I thought carefully. "Sometimes people get lost, sweetheart. They forget what really matters." "Do you think she'll ever find her way back?" "I don't know. But that's her journey, not ours." With Tyler settled, I finally did something I'd been putting off for decades. I turned the unused dining room into a small bakery studio. I bought a stand mixer, baking pans, and all the supplies I needed. I started baking again, cookies, cakes, bread. The smell of vanilla and cinnamon filled the house. Tyler loved helping me measure ingredients and decorate cupcakes. One Saturday, I baked a batch of my grandmother's chocolate chip cookies. Tyler took a bite and grinned. "These are amazing, Grandma." "Thank you, sweetheart." I looked around the kitchen, at the flour-dusted counters and the oven glowing warm. This was what I'd been missing. Not the house itself, but the life I'd built inside it. I had almost let Ava take that from me. But I didn't. I stood my ground. Months later, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea, watching Tyler play in the yard. The restraining order was still in place. Ava hadn't tried to contact me. I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the court battle, the pain of losing my daughter. But I also thought about what I'd gained, my home, my peace, and most importantly, my grandson. Dr. Helena had been right. Sometimes you have to lose everything, even your illusions, to finally find yourself. I had spent years enabling Ava, sacrificing my dreams to make her happy. I thought that was love. But real love isn't about giving until you have nothing left. It's about knowing when to say no. I sipped my tea and smiled. My house was still mine. My life was still mine. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I looked at you now, dear reader, and I ask, would you have signed? Or would you have stood your ground, even against your own blood? Because sometimes, the hardest person to say no to is the one you love most.